I, for one, welcome our new Lucasfilm games Overlords. We talk about that and more on this episode of the Escape Podcast for Star Wars The Old Republic. Our broadcast astromech today is EPC 367. And playing alongside me is Seema. Hi, Seema. How's it going?
It's going great. I'm having a good week.
Great.
Great. The weather is good. We're having a very, I shouldn't say this because I'll probably jinx the whole rest of the year now, but we're having a mild winter so far, which means not so much ice and not so much snow shoveling. So that's good. We just came from our ops night where we spent 2 lovely hours in Dread Palace with our buddies, telling stories and having fun and killing a few bosses.
Mm-hmm.
And earlier this week, we did a similar thing for MFN, different place, and some overlap of people, but different people. We went and killed Xeno Analyst because the greedy event is in town, and we killed one of the world bosses, but the other one wasn't up at a convenient time for us. So then we went a rampaging. I think most people maybe got 3 characters to conquest that night because a lot of points floating around. So yeah, I'm starting to get into the swing of it not being the holidays anymore.
Mm-hmm. Starting.
Yeah, starting. Yeah, starting. I mean, it's like January 14th. I'm still starting. Um, but yeah, it's going well. How about with you, Max?
Also going well. Yeah, I had to leave early from the Tuesday night mandatory fun night, but had fun doing Xeno Analyst. We did it short. I think we only had 12 people
Mm-hmm.
for a
Mm-hmm.
16 man and slaughtered it. That was not a problem, barely an inconvenience. It was fun. Then I had to leave. I had to help my daughter out with some driving. Uh, Rest of the week, did some of the usual conquesty kind of things. Still working on inventory, and I gotta think up a solution. I'm getting close to declaring bankruptcy on everything, and just sort of like wiping out pages of extraneous things that I've been collecting because I might
Mm-hmm.
just want that one extra piece of whatever. I think
Yeah,
I'm close to doing that.
I'm pretty close because I actually went through my character inventory right before the podcast, and I
Yeah,
just vendored everything
I
that was.
I think I
Yeah, I mean,
may be getting. I think I may be doing that shortly as well. The thing that's really
I
pushing me over
didn't
the edge,
even, um,
re-
deconstruct.
deconstruct. Yeah,
Yeah, just fed them to Revan.
the thing that's really pushing me over the edge are the daily login rewards, which aren't bad. Some of them
Yeah.
are completely useless, and I have a habit with that kind of thing of I'm just gonna save it. I'm just gonna save it because then I'll be able to see what it was for all the days. Blah 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 blah. No, that's not my. I'm not gonna be able to do that. It's just I'm just gonna fill up inventory everywhere. Today I got 5 basic command stims, which increase my presence by 8 for 60 minutes. Why did I not even just delete this? I can sell it to a vendor for 75 credits. I mean, this is like it's I would pay like 50,000 credits to not have to sell this to a vendor. so,
Right. Right.
so uh but yeah, so the little of that, and then yeah, the ops night was fun. The other thing that I've been working on, which we'll probably mention in Guild News, is the AI Econ, which is coming up in a week and a half, and sort of doing some of that on the side.
Yeah, that's yes, soon.
But before we talk about Guild News, let's talk about a relatively solid amount of Star Wars news.
Now, an Imperial News Network report.
First up, as we like to talk about, we have quite a few things coming in from NAFA that are our bug tracker. Not much in there that I would feel like we need to dig into too much. One that caught my eye was that a thread went out. People were complaining about not being able to dye some of the older, green level kinds of pieces of armor, and they said yes. NAFA helped look into that. The dev team looked into it, and is stuff out there, especially some of the older stuff that you're not going to be able to dye correctly, even if you might have been able to dye it at one point. It's not set up to be able to be dyed. They didn't retrofit every piece of armor that they ever made, so you're just going to run into some of those. I know it's kind of a pain when you're trying to put together a cool set. You're just going to have to look for another similar piece that you can dye to what you'd like. And if you want to jump in our guild Discord and ask Thon, he can help you out on how to do that
Yes,
because
yes.
he has found all of those pieces.
Yeah. Also, this week there was a spotlight shown on a thread about accessibility suggestions, and this was really interesting to me because I think in my mind I was thinking color blindness for sure, and maybe even uh, low vision in general. And but there were some really great conversations in there about all kinds of um, disabilities. And one of the comments that I picked up on that I thought maybe applied to the game at large was that people were saying that when you do a story mode version of a Flashpoint, it should be easier. Like it shouldn't be challenging. And they were saying because that makes it difficult for disabled people to complete them. But I also that resonated with me because I feel like if you make a story mode Flashpoint too difficult slash tedious to complete, then that flashpoint isn't really serving the story. So
Yeah,
the story's interrupted because you have to go kill these things, and if you happen to die and have to run back or you get called away and can't finish it, it really puts a hitch in the story. So I I I'm with this crowd and anyone who says, the story mode stuff, if it's going to be truly story mode in service of the story, I'm all for it being very easy, and they were, bringing the combat droid back for the operations that don't have it, because the harder versions do exist. If you're a player that doesn't wanna do that,
right,
you have great options already.
right.
So, no need to put your nose out of whack and say, "Oh, they've dumbed it down too much." Dumb it down more, I say,
Yes,
because it's a story.
yes.
We wanna
Please keep your nose in whack.
So anyway, it was very interesting reading. So aside from color blindness and low vision, there's also people who have limited mobility with their hands and arms. There's um, people who have sensitivity to strobing effects. There's people who have sensitivity to high contrast. Like one person pointed out that ever since they made the change to the sage bubble, where it's a big, much brighter thing, that they get much more fatigued. Um,
Yeah,
yeah, it was very interesting.
yeah. I think that's a good concept, and I'm glad that they're doing some sort of some research into it and some thought. Also in the news, we have a tie-in for Squadrons, Star Wars Squadrons. If you
Mm.
check out the post that's up on the site, the code, it's a very complicated code. You're never gonna guess it. The code is Squadrons. You have to put that in at swotor.com/redeem-code. It's also on your account page on the website. There's the redeem code option on the left when you're looking at your account page. You have to redeem the code. Once you redeem the code, it shows up in your mail pretty much right away. This is what the mount looks like. It's a version of the Corellian star drives. Did somebody say? Oh yeah, it's got a flourish that the canopy pops open there. Oh, that's kind of cool, and I like the
I
paint
love
job.
I like the flourishes. I like all the flourishes.
Yeah, so there you go. Cool,
My
cool new
only
mount. Go
complaint
get one.
here is they say now we're stepping things up a bit. I'm like, I don't know. Is a speeder better than a pet? I mean, I think that's
Not in
personal
Seema's book
decision.
by any means.
Not really, because I mean I have hundreds of speeders that I never use.
Yeah, yeah. I think it's just fine. I think it's nice.
I think it's just words. They didn't really
Yeah.
mean it that way. Clearly. My feelings are not hurt.
How about our companions, Seema?
Oh yeah. Um so there was a post about how companions can get in this sort of they're here, they're not here state where you can no longer customize them. And the limitation is if you have a guest companion, like for instance during the story when you have Darth Mar for a while, you can't customize him. I mean, he is who he is, and that's his look. He's coming to help you on a quest. That makes sense. But then there's also a period where when your companions start to return in the story, the ones that you know left you when you were lying defenselessly asleep for 5 years, um, they are actually, according to the system, guest companions until the end of the story arc, where they officially rejoin you. And so during that time, you cannot customize them. So that's weird for the people who like married certain companions, but they had a different like they had given them a customization so they look like a whole different person. I mean, it's not only just the armor.
Ah, okay.
So yeah, that was just an explanation of how that works. So
Got
not
it.
probably not going to change.
Got it. Got it. Yeah. And when you get them back fully, then you'll be able to customize them again. Q-ban. So there's a note in here from our Chris Schmidt, our PvP expert. Chris posted a note here about a new tool that they're engaging to take care of some of the opportunities to reduce toxicity, keep people out of PvP that shouldn't be in PvP because of bad behavior, but not have to ban them from the game altogether. So what his example was, hey, you know how you get locked out of the queue for a little bit if you sort of get, if you decline matches? That ability to get locked out of a queue, they are now going to use that as a tool if someone has enough violations to be able to lock them out of a season of queues. So they may be implementing that. It was a little bit of a roundabout way that he explained it, but that's the gist of the post. So a new tool here, continuing to use these kinds of tools to combat toxicity. Interested to see where it goes. And what's the bigger news, Seema? We buried the lead.
The bigger news. Sorry, I was looking for my Twitch window. I lost it for a second there. Um, oh yeah, PTS is up. So 6.2.1 is live on the PTS. The two main things there are some changes to how amplifiers are presented to us in the UI, not so much how they work. Um, there is they introduced a new rarity level, which is white, and then they also introduced rarity locking. So for you can pay more credits and make sure you lock in the rarity you're looking for. It still is going to be a random
Yeah,
amplifier, but you'll have fewer choices because it won't be like all the rarities at once.
right,
And then the UI is going to change. Hopefully, the point of making it easier to see the amplifiers to choose them.
right. So that's interesting. I haven't seen it yet. I loaded up the PTS, but I haven't jumped on there. We'll look at it this week. We'll see what it looks like. And then also interesting news. What are they? Go ahead with the next thing, and we can talk about
Yeah.
that.
So the next thing is the balance changes to uprisings. So they're making the uprisings be level 75,
Mm-hmm.
and that means that they're adjusting the not only the level then the difficulty, and they also are adjusting the loot level, so the level of rewards that you get. What's unclear is what the point of it is. Like, do they want to make them harder? Do they want to make them easier? Do they want to make it so they're more rewarding? Do they want to make them equally rewarding to match the harder difficulty? Um,
Yes.
I don't know, but get up there and test it, even though we don't know what we'd be testing for.
I guess get up there and test it, and maybe you can discover if you run statistically significant amount of uprisings, you can discover what their intended design change was. Yeah, I had a little bit of a mini rant in my own head earlier today when I was looking at this, because it's clear they boost them up to 75. Great. A rebalance of the difficulty and time they take to complete. A rebalance. We're just going to do a rebalance. Test the rebalance. Uh, what do you mean test it? I'll just get on the PTS and whatever it is, I guess you succeeded because I have no idea what you were designing to.
It's different, so you succeeded.
Right. Or maybe it's not different at all. And that was their rebalance. I don't know. Are you, yeah, please. So please tell us, are you making it harder or easier? Uh, for for what it's going to feel like if we run them now. It sounds like to me like, and there's only a little bit of feedback so far in the thread. It's not like even that many people seem even to be interested in testing it. It sounds like it's going to be more difficult. And if that's
Mm-hmm.
the case, with the complaints in that thread already about people barely wanting to get in there now, that could be problematic. Unless something interesting happens with the second sentence, which again is equally as vague. Along with those changes, loot drops have been quote unquote increased in all uprisings. What's your definition of increased? If it's increased by
A
75
lot.
credits per boss and, and 100 more renown points, I won't even update the PTS. If you're
Right.
dropping Apex Predator on every boss in the uprisings, now you have my attention. So yeah, just tell us where you're going with that.
So
And
I've seen a few posts from people who do enjoy the uprisings, and they have a buddy, and they do them. They've done all of them, and they do them regularly. I personally never did enjoy the uprisings, and I think a lot of people didn't. And if the point of rebalancing them is to make them more attractive to people, then say that.
yeah,
I
that's
mean,
also, yeah, what's your intent? What are you trying to do? What are you trying to achieve by that? Why did you bother to spend time and ask us to spend time testing it? Let us know. And
so
and maybe we can give you some quick feedback like, yeah, we feel like if we make it really hard and painful and annoying and add more trash in there that, people will want to do it more. We could, real quick, if you just explain
we could
that,
help them
we could
fine tune that
reply.
concept. Yeah.
Guess what? Nah.
The conventional wisdom right now seems to be if you are working on achievements with uprisings, do them now before this change goes live because it does seem like they're going to be more difficult.
And with that in mind, we have a guild group. I think that's going to be running this Friday and every other Friday at a minimum, if not every Friday, doing master mode uprisings to get a bunch of the achievements. Thon is definitely on the list for that. That's one of the things he's ticking off the list at this point on his
But one of the things that's
quest to
been
get every
challenging for
achievement.
him is finding people to do uprisings with because
Right. Because nobody
they're
wants to
not
do them.
popular. Yeah.
And then finally, just in regards to the PTS, if you do want to jump in and try it, if you are running SWTOR through Steam only, you cannot run the PTS through Steam. You have to
Right.
have the old school local install, and then you can install the PTS client as part of that. You can run both of those. You could be running it through Steam and still have the local install if you've got enough space. And then they will be working on adding it to Steam. It's just not happening in the near term. It won't happen in the next week or two. It won't happen by the 6.2.1 update, unfortunately. So there you go. Guild and community news. As I said, we've got a couple fun things to talk about. What do we got in addition to those Flashpoint nights that I just mentioned, Seema?
Well, I mean, the big thing is we have our AIE Con coming up next weekend, really. The weekend of January 22nd through the 24th. And what is an AIE Con, you may ask, is something new we're trying. But basically, it's a guild activity, and by guild I mean the Greater AIE Guild that's not focused on the games that we're already in or video games even in general, but we're going to have board games, online board games, casual online party games, Dungeons and Dragons. As we're also going to have a guild town hall meeting, which we tend to do about once a year anyway, but this will take place during that weekend. And then on the Friday night, we're going to do a joint podcast between our podcast and Working Class Nerds, and we're going to talk about podcasting in general. That's probably going to be on the 22nd, so look for that. Um, yeah, I mean, so far there's been a lot of interest in it, and we have a lot of people working behind the scenes to put this stuff together. We're going to be running it through Discord, so you don't have to have a subscription really to any game. Well, no, I don't think you do. The
Nope.
only thing I don't know for sure is the board games.
Nope. The board games,
Okay.
you'll be able to jump in. Our board game masters are going to be running 2 different games, and they have the setup and the tools that you'll just then be able to join. D&D, same thing. They'll be running with online tools. You won't have to buy dice even. And they will be catering to beginners for some of the sessions. Keep an eye out by this weekend, the signups for the board game sessions, because I think we only have about 4 board game sessions, and the 6 or so D&D sessions that we have scheduled. We'll have a sign-up sheet for sign-up mechanisms for both of those. It'll be a sign-up sheet for D&D, and it'll be a tool set in Discord where you can use reactions to sign up for a slot for the board game sessions. So yeah, it's gonna be fun. Looking forward to it. We've got a
Me
couple
too.
panels that you're gonna hear about this week too, as we do our final hype that I think are going to be interesting too. Little thing we're gonna try.
Yeah. Oh,
Shout out to the chat room. We got our contingent in there, our global contingent of pals of ours that are hanging out in the chat room. People across the planet, people who for whom it is already tomorrow. It's already Friday workaday for Zen, for example, and Cybercat Dan. Lot of really appreciate everybody helping out in there and saying hi. I already saw somebody looking for our guild Discord, which you can find at aie-guild.org. You can see what we've got going on in there and catch up with us after. We'll stick around for a couple minutes after every show as we do and answer any other questions and talk to you a bit more. But with that, we've got some bigger industry news. It seems a deal has been altered.
I am altering the deal. Pray I don't alter it any further.
A deal has been altered. A couple deals have been altered. We're going to talk about both of them. It seems there's some misconceptions. We don't have any official word from BioWare or from Electronic Arts on this, but we do have some details from Lucasfilm Games and a pretty good interview on StarWars.com, which I think was the best resource for some of the intent behind this. So to summarize at the top line, what the two announcements were is they are reviving Lucasfilm Games as a division, as an organization part of
an
Disney,
entity.
an entity of some kind, a dreadful entity that that will oversee the production and publishing and interface with the companies that will be making Star Wars games now and into the future. This does not mean, in fact, they said relatively specifically, they are not spinning themselves up as a developer.
Right.
It's more like they're going to be playing the coordination, promotion, publisher kind of role. It's still Disney, but it's going to be Lucasfilm Games entity within Disney. They want to sort of unify things under that Lucasfilm Games brand. So we'll talk
Right.
about
And
that.
I think they're also going to provide resources for making sure that
Your empire
the
needs
various
you.
game
Enlist
studios, I think the
today.
envisioning that they'll come to them with a pitch. We want to do this kind of game, and it's going to be the features of it, and they'll fine tune the story to make sure it fits in the overall story.
Yep.
Make sure that it has the all the elements that they think are necessary, and give you some resources for honing that part of it. But then you go and develop it, and
Right.
yeah.
Along with that, which makes it all make a little bit more sense when you talk about giving you the resources, getting more developers involved. They are going to allow the Electronic Arts exclusivity arrangement on production of Star Wars games. They're going to allow that exclusivity to expire. That doesn't mean that EA is not going to be involved. In fact, they explicitly say, no, EA is good for us. And we'll debate with what the thread is on whether EA is good for all Star Wars games. I think it is. A lot of the threads are saying it's not. We'll talk about that. What our hot take is there, but that exclusivity is what's going away. The first studio up that will be taking advantage of that exclusivity going away is Ubisoft. Will be making an open world Star Wars game. Interesting. So that's interesting. We can talk about that too. Which part do you want to start with, Seema? You want to sort of start with the LucasArts thing?
Sure.
Pull out any
Sure.
of those quotes out of that interview. You found that interview, StarWars.com, top thing in their news feed. This interview is good, as I said.
Yeah, it's worth reading. The first time I heard the announcement, it was couched under the sort of the Ubisoft thing, like we're doing this new game, and so I was kind of taken in by thinking about what is their game going to be, and they're just in very early days of developing that game, and it's still probably going to be by the time it comes out, the initial 10 years that EA had the exclusiveness exclusivity will have run its course anyway.
Right. I think so.
Um,
I think you're right. So nothing. So really, no deal has actually been altered as far as that goes. The deal
right.
has just run its course, and
But having
now
said
there's
that,
more opportunity.
there's also like Civ 4 has a Star Wars. I don't know what they call it. Not Civ 4, Sim 4. I don't know what they call it, but it's like a module where you can go and basically play inside Sim 4 like you're doing Galaxy's Edge, like you have some of the Star Wars characters at Galaxy's Edge. So it's like called Road to Batu or something like that. But it's also a sim game. So basically, you know, you can challenge your roommate to a lightsaber duel to decide who has to do the dishes.
Hmm.
But that already exists. So that
A
does kind
couple
of
of those, and they termed those as partnering arrangements. So it seemed like EA was kind of somewhat involved still. Is what is sort of
yeah.
how I read into that. It was with that. It was with like what they did with Fortnite, which was sort of an event, but some of that, some of the items still continue to persist. It was sort of like a partnering arrangement. Uh, Once the exclusivity is gone, there'll be things that go off and happen completely separate from EA, and EA won't be involved at all.
Yeah.
But
I
yeah,
mean,
I
another
think that's
thing
fine.
that hit me about this is like things always go one way and then they go the other way. It doesn't mean they're going to stay in that other way. They just go back the first way and then they go back so like a few years ago, Disney was like, we don't want to be our own games entity. EA is going to do that. Now they're like, okay, new period. We're going to be our own games entity. And I see it also as a mirror of the Disney Plus, all the Disney Plus announcements of a week and a half ago, where they were talking about all the stuff that they're working on for Disney Plus. So it's like all that content, and then all this, they're opening up the gaming content as well. It's sort of like the idea is that there's going to be lots of Star Wars stuff
Right.
through the next few years, and it's going to be on our televisions, on our computer screens, on our consoles. Not that I have a console, but on our consoles. I think we'll see mobile games. We'll see things for the Switch. I think it's gonna a lot of Star Wars.
Yes. And hopefully not oversaturated. At first, when I saw, especially even the content announcement on Disney Plus and the extra series that they're putting together, and we've got Boba Fett and Ahsoka's going to have her series and Mandalorian, blah 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 blah, and here's a movie that's coming out. It's still a roadmap, and we're talking
Hmm.
we're talking years here of
Right.
production of content. The next Star Wars movie isn't coming out until 2023. This Ubisoft thing probably won't be out until 2023. So this is not, in the next 2 months, we're just going to back up a truck and we're just going to dump a bunch of junk in there. It's going to be a mixed bag and there's some's going to be bad and we're going to ruin we're going to ruin Star Wars for you. I don't think it's going to be that. So, um, I at first was a little bit afraid of that when I heard about all this stuff, and now I'm no longer afraid.
Right. I was too, and you were the one that pointed out to me like it's a lot in the announcement, but it's still over multiple years, so I
Yeah,
don't think it's gonna feel like a lot.
yeah. Uh, the other side of it, which I think is interesting and something we can toss back and forth a little bit in an interesting way, and we'll even go into some of these in detail, is this idea that the exclusivity is going away. And as I've been reading some of the forums and threads and things on various places on the internet, you get a lot of people that chime in on the thread, and the conversation seems to go something like this. The top line of the conversation is, "Oh, I'm so glad EA is losing their exclusivity because they wasted the opportunity." But then, almost in the same breath, the continuing conversation goes, except for Squadrons. Squadrons is pretty good. I really like playing Squadrons, and Fallen Order. Fallen Order was pretty good. I like playing that. And in Battlefront that had a rocky launch, but it's still going. The content, and they fixed their loot box problem. That's pretty good too. And that Lego Star Wars game was pretty good, and they got that mobile game Galaxy Heroes, and that's pretty good. It's like, wait.
Loyalty, duty,
So,
honor. The
EA
Imperial Navy
bad,
secures our
except
empire's
for
dominance across
all
the
of these
far
Star Wars
corners of
games
the
that
galaxy.
apparently we really like.
Report to recruitment staff for more information.
Be quiet.
Next time, Max, that you say let's be on the fleet, I'm going to remember this part. I swear.
I will mute because we don't need him doing that right now. The other side of that is what they could be thinking and saying, and you see this in the threads too, is I wish there was more Star Wars games or a different Star Wars game. The problem there is then when each person in the thread of the 20 people that are participating in the discussion, when they say what Star Wars game they want, it's, well, I want a car racing game that's reskinned Star Wars. I want, Assassin's Creed, that's Star Wars theme. I want Candy Crush with Star Wars or whatever. It's everybody's
Oh my
got
gosh,
a different idea.
I want that.
You want Star Wars Candy Crush? Yeah. If we're going to do it.
Star Wars Sudoku.
Yeah, exactly. But so let's talk about those games for just a second, and I'll even play the trailer for each one. I haven't played every single one of them, but let's actually show off, and then at the end come to our own conclusion of is a EA good, or have they done well or poorly with Star Wars? Do you want to do oldest to newest or newest to oldest, Seema?
Let's do oldest to newest.
Okay. So oldest, if you want to go oldest of anything that's sort of still in operation, it's this little game, Star Wars: The Old Republic. So this was actually published in 2011. And obviously, if you're listening here, if you're listening to this podcast, if you're in the chat room, I think they did just fine with this. I think EA did a fine job, and I still am having fun playing it 9 years later. So, what do you think, Seema? Did they do an okay job with the Star Wars license in this way?
Well, except for the absence of a hood toggle, I would agree.
Dang it all! Maybe we could maybe Riot Games can implement a hood toggle. I bet Bethesda could have done a hood toggle. Yeah, okay. Well played, Seema. Well played. So that's one. So we've got Star Wars: The Old Republic. Moving up, which I didn't realize it was that old, but Star Wars Galaxy of Heroes is a mobile game. It's relatively well rated. All of these games have an entry on Wikipedia, and then you can look down at sort of what the meta rating is. This one doesn't have that much rating. It's a 70 out of 100 Metacritic review. I've played this, and
I remember when you were playing it.
Yeah, and even thinking about this and hearing about this makes me, and what they've added to it since, makes me think about spinning it back up on my phone. It's not a bad little mobile time waster, sort of squad-based card collecting little mobile game. It's perfectly fine. Takes you a long time to collect all the little cards and stuff, but that's what it's supposed to be. And then you have this little battle sequence that goes on. You battle to get your little points, and you collect the characters, and it's just fine. You download it free. It's completely free to play if you want to have it free to play. Yeah, just fine on this one. That's my summary. Could there be more Star Wars mobile games? Probably. But this is a fine mobile game. I'm better than most. So, have you never played this one, did you, Seema?
No.
It's a fine mobile game. I guess that's all I got to say. I think you wouldn't mind it. There's a little bit of like the card collecting-ish kind of thing, and then you arrange your little team and you fight some battles, and sometimes you win, sometimes you don't. It's fine. I did not play, and I think this was no, this next one I didn't play, but I don't mind that I missed it all that much. The Lego Star Wars game. They have had updates to this as recently as 2019, I believe, but Lego Star Wars Skywalker Edition was 2016 was when this came out. And if you look at the ratings as far as this one went, it's at the audience it was targeted at, it seemed to get just fine ratings. Like at the 8 out of 10, 7 out of 10, 8 out of 10 range, which sounds good to me. Wait, did I click on the wrong thing? This is
Yeah.
Battlefront, I think.
Yeah, it
Did I click
is. It's Battlefront.
Lego
looks pretty
Star
amazing.
Wars. Stop. We'll get to Battlefront in just a second. Lego Star Wars. Where are you? Here you go. The Lego Star Wars. Lego games all tend to be relatively good. If you want to play a Lego game, Lego Batman, Lego Harry Potter, but here you got your little Lego Star Wars. Look, there was Obi-Wan on the high ground. Look at the whole saga going on. It's great. It's and from the ratings, it sounds like it's just fine. I didn't play it. I don't know. It's chat room. Did anybody play the Lego Star Wars games very much?
It's too meta for me.
Because it's. Did you see she switched her hair so she could be more in character? It is quite meta. Oh, look. There's Luke and wow, porgs and everything. This is
He's like, give me my coat back.
now I'm very distracted. Look,
This
there's
is very adorable.
Raylo, the whole Raylo scene. Wow, it's got the whole everything from the prequels all the way through Rise of Skywalker. Cool. Oh, look. Grievous. All right, done with that. Battlefront. I played a little bit of Battlefront, but not all that much, and may go back. The problem with Battlefront, so this was an interesting one, and this made people mad at EA and gave them the idea that EA was doing a bad thing with a Star Wars game. The big problems with Battlefront were all in pre-release. All the way up until release day, they started to go down the dark path. They implemented this system of loot boxes and RNG and pay to win that was solidly there in the beta and in the plans leading up to it, and that put a bad taste in a lot of people's mouths. A lot of backlash against Electronic Arts in that lead up. Since then, they released a fine game. And the reviews in general, it even got some Game of the Year award kind of things going on from some of the smaller outlets. Oh, no, I clicked on the wrong one again. I'm back on Legos. I got too many of my YouTube links here. They've been adding content to it pretty solidly. The people that are still continuing to play it say, now this is good. You should get back in here. You should see what they've done. It seems to be a really fun, good Battlefront game. So did Electronic Arts do bad in what they initially in their initial design? Yes, they had some bad plans. Did they yank those plans out even before they launched so that they never launched with the loot boxes and pay to win in the game? Yes, they did. They did the right thing. Have they ended up with a very fine Battlefront game that a lot of people really like to play? Yes, they have. So here we go. This was probably the one that everyone. Oh, look at everybody got force choked there. I got a bad feeling about this. There's Kylo. So you could play as the hero characters as you're sort of in your squads and these. So and some people want more out of it too. There's still people complaining, but about we want bigger battles and that kind of thing, which is fine. It's still. They treated it well. They respected the content. They respected the lore, and they created a good Battlefront game. So I'm again now we're adding up the points here. Did EA do bad by Star Wars or do good by Star Wars? let's go through the last two, and I think it's going to seal the deal from what our point of view is, and see where we go from there. This one, which I only played a little bit of as well. I just don't play single player games as much. So if I had any criticism, it would be that more, bigger Star Wars MMO, do more with Old Republic, do a New Republic MMO. I love MMOs. If I loved single player games as much as I love MMOs, this is supposed to be a very good one, and it plays pretty well, and I like the parts that I played, and I may go back and play the rest of it. So Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order. This was November of 2019. Fallen Order, a new Star Wars game, a new story to be told, a new character gets created. We got the crossover, the little cool little droid that's your companion as you go through the game. Some people can take or leave the way the combat works, but even the people that don't prefer the combat said it still works. It's not broken. It's still satisfying. If you look at some of the top games coming out right now, like Cyberpunk 2077, this was a high quality game, and it still continues to be a high quality game, built very well, tells a good Star Wars story, adds a little bit new lore to the canon, and is kind of cool. So I don't think you played very much of this either, but you've seen some of what's gone on on this one. So of the last two? So these are the bigger ones. What's your assessment of
So
those two?
I think when people say that they feel like EA didn't come through with the Star Wars, I think it's partially that there's people like you and me that mostly play MMOs, and so they only came up with one MMO.
Yep.
Or there's people who mostly play whatever you characterize, Jedi Fallen Order, and they only came up with,
One of those.
yeah.
Yeah.
And so to them, it's like one game in the last 8, 9, 10 years. Slackers.
Right. In my genre, in my niche, yes.
Yeah.
So and maybe and maybe that's what's going to change. I don't fault EA for it. Maybe if you're going to fault someone for it, maybe that is the fault of Lucas Disney creating that exclusivity arrangement. But you can't tell Electronic Arts you have to suddenly develop 5 Star Wars games a year, one in each sub gaming genre. So if they're developing they've got it on the cycle, they're always developing something, which it seems like they kind of were, even though these are stretched out, and it was a couple of years between some of them. They were doing some interesting things.
But
we
you
haven't
say
even
they,
touched on the most recent.
I mean that they haven't they couldn't tell EA blah 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 blah, but that is kind of what they're doing now with Lucas
Right.
Films Gaming, is they're saying, yeah, we want to accelerate how much
But we want
there is
that,
out
right?
there. Yeah, we
So
want that.
I think it would be
And so
it's almost too much to put on I think what I'm saying is too much to put on one developer,
mhm,
what we could
mhm.
be getting. So let the exclusivity arrangement expire, and maybe we can get the multiple games in the genres that we want releasing more often. And with that kind of concept in mind, then I think we all, as Star Wars fans and Star Wars gaming fans, should be cheering on, not taking nothing away from EA, cheering on the opportunity to get more games that we will potentially enjoy. Here's the last game that we haven't mentioned yet, which I have played relatively extensively. This is Star Wars Squadrons. So this is the most recent installment. So this was October 2020. Star Wars Squadrons. Again, slightly different genre. This is a fighter flight game, well designed for VR. It's not like the single player story driven open map kind of game. It's not an MMO. It's not a kid's Lego game. It's not a mobile game. So EA was doing a thing in lots of the different genres, spread out over time, yes, and maybe they could have done more, but this is also a very good game. So Squadrons is good. It's well rated. If you like flying,
Fighter. Yeah,
you know,
flying games.
X-wings and TIE fighters, it is good. You feel like you're in the cockpit. It handles well. I played it with stick and throttle, and it feels slick. It's it's easy to learn, tough to master, uh, easy basic controls, very complex deep controls if you get to that point and want to play it that way. So, did they do a good job with this game? My answer is a resounding yes. In fact, this is
Yeah,
probably the best Star Wars game that they've come out with of besides Star Wars: The Old Republic, of
of
all of
course.
their exclusivity time frame, and probably the most well liked. But that so there's the walkthrough, and I'll reiterate and get my I think I've already telegraphed my conclusion. EA just did just fine. Sure, could we want more? Yes. Are we always going to want more? Yes. Do we want more from any game that's come out from any publisher anytime anywhere ever? Yes. But did they treat the IP badly? Did they did they ruin anything? No, I don't think they did. So there's
Watching
my
through
assessment.
these shots of games, I mean, some of them are just stunningly, awesomely beautiful and so Star Warsian.
Yes.
It's very exciting.
This is such, I mean, like this one as an example is such a good Star Wars game to be in the cockpit of a TIE fighter or an X-Wing or a couple of the other uh, ship types. Flying and bombing and blowing up a Imperial Star Destroyer. It's just slick. I did not play it, and I didn't try it in VR. I should, because I bet it's spectacular. I've played this kind of game in VR. Just the way the handling of the stick and throttle is. If you have a good game that handles very well in stick and throttle, that lends itself very well to VR. So I'll try it. Anyone in the chat room, have you done it in VR? I bet it's good. So yeah, uh, I think I think the era of EA, yes, we could have had more, but I don't think we could have had more with EA. Do I think what EA did was fine? Yeah, I think it was fine. What about you, Seema? What's
I,
your
I,
overall assessment? What's your thumbs up, thumbs down on EA?
so I mean, I wish, you know, wishes were fishes or whatever that expression is. I wish EA would have put more money into Star Wars: The Old Republic. That's the first thing.
Yes.
I wish that we would have had unlimited resources at all times. um, so that's really I don't have a big opinion about these games because I haven't played them. I don't. I probably never will. I'm enjoying looking at these shots, but I'm an MMO player, really.
Yeah. And with that, maybe an open world game once in a while for me, but only maybe. So we'll have to see what they do with it, with what Ubisoft does with their open world game. If
Well, I mean,
there's
I
yeah
might play the Ubisoft one because I
yeah
have I have a high opinion of Ubisoft, but it's basically based on the fact that they helped save Notre Dame when it got almost destroyed in a fire a couple years back.
yeah they're good people, uh, in general. If you want to think about it that way, I kind of agree
Yeah.
with that. Uh, I what I'm hoping, and they have a track record of this a little bit with like the Division. If there are like squad based where we can play together kind of things. I don't care about fighting or like PvP. That's not interesting to me. But if we have an open world Star Wars game and we can do some squad stuff and our guild can have some activities in there,
Mhm.
that could be kind of interesting to me.
Right.
And something that could end up being even another AIE division for us, and something we spend some time in. And we do our Tuesday night Star Wars: The Old Republic mandatory fun night, and we do our our Wednesday night Star Wars whatever Star Wars Ubi game
Yeah.
night. Who
Right.
knows?
Yeah.
Maybe we will.
Yeah.
So we'll see. I think
We
it
have a
could be
couple
kind
of
of cool.
years to work on that idea.
That's the other thing. We do have years to look forward to to continuing development roadmap from Electronic Arts. We know we've got a big bunch of development going on for Star Wars: The Old Republic. I would like to hear their take on it, and maybe they'll do a dev stream where they sort of explain their take on the Lucasfilm games. I keep trying to figure out what they named that studio. The Lucasfilm games layer. They probably won't talk about it very much, but I expect that's gonna impact them even just from an organizational perspective. The kind of conference calls that Keith is going to need to get on, the people that he talks to on a regular basis, and the kind of guidance they might give. That could be a little bit of an impact, and maybe all for the good. But I would be interested to hear how that's going, or what the expectations are there. Otherwise, we're in it for the long haul. We're going to be really looking forward to 10th anniversary of Star Wars: The Old Republic, and yes, more games. We like games. We like Star Wars.
Yeah.
Let's
More games is good. More Star Wars is good.
more anything, more everything. That's a Seinfeld reference. Maybe
I
we'll get
think
that.
this whole spreading the wealth of the Star Wars IP is going to be good for everyone. Not only the people who consume entertainment stories like on streaming on Disney Plus, but also for people who consume it via games, via comics, via books. Yeah, it's going to make so much stuff available that you can just consume the part that you like, and it will
Yeah.
be satisfying, I think.
I think that's a good hope.
Yeah, that's a good hope.
And rebellions are built on hope, Seema.
Yes. Oh, okay.
So to wrap it up, I'll ask you. I'll go first, just so you have a second to think about it. But if you're gonna pick another Star Wars game that gets developed, that's not one that we've seen just yet, what would it be? And you like Star Wars Candy Crush. If you're gonna go with that one, we'll see. We'll see.
Well, I mean, I guess my first thought is a High Republic MMO.
Okay.
I mean,
Yeah.
I'm I know that's not the setting that everyone hoped for, but I'm kind of delaying my total uh, decision about it until I see what the storylines look like in there. But yeah, I mean, if they're gonna do an MMO with an updated engine, I don't want it to be the Skywalker story,
Yes.
and I don't want it to be the Old Republic.
Correct. Agreed.
So that leaves the High
correct.
Republic.
You are
Yeah.
correct, Seema. You have
I'm
answered
correct in
correctly.
what I want.
You have chosen
Yeah,
wisely.
yeah. And I would be interested in another MMO, but and I might play the Ubisoft game. Well, I mean, I bought all three Mass Effects, and I haven't played them, so
Yeah.
you know.
I like it, and I'll double down on your choice there. I would like we'll see High Republic. My only problem with High Republic is I'd want, I don't know if there's going to be Sith. You sort of can't have Sith in the High Republic area because that's all Rule of Two era. But
I'm okay with that.
I want a bunch of, well, some sort of factions, maybe. I don't like the artificial division between factions. I wish we could merge factions, but I do like the idea of factions, so that if they do have a PvP subsystem, that they can do some things with factions. That's fine. But
I mean, you can have criminals; they just don't have to be.
True.
I mean, you can have the
Underworld
criminals
and
don't have to be.
smugglers and
Yeah.
the Sith cartel, but like this not Sith, the Hutt cartel. Still, not having Sith is a big gap in that.
But factions can just be different too. They don't have to be at war with each other.
Right. That's also true. You could have the Trade Federation and the the whatever the Republic Rangers and something else.
Yeah, the Ferengi.
Ferengi and the dwarves of Mordor, and yes, okay.
I mean, I would be. I know a lot of people would not be okay with this, but I would be okay if not every thing was a light side dark side choice. I mean, I'm kind of
Yeah,
over
I'm
that.
kind of over the Horde versus Alliance, Empire versus Republic, that that straight up two side shall never meet division
Hmm.
in games. I'm kind of over that too. I do love the idea of a modern game engine and an MMO built on something like
Hmm.
Amazon's Lumberyard.
Right.
That would
And
be amazing. And
right.
some
I don't
and I
think
would
it's
I would
going
be
to
fine if
happen though,
BioWare
because
BioWare built it. So uh, let's get that as an extension or even an expansion. Maybe our characters fall asleep for, instead of 5 years, you know, 2,500 years, and we wake up in a new game engine in the High Republic era, and we get to play our bounty hunters and our vanguards in the new MMO. That'd be really interesting. Be interesting. All right.
and that's if we can't have our Princess Bride MMO.
I did not know we were wishing for that, but now I am. So well done there. Uh, so I think with that sort of wraps it up. I think that's a good take. You may or may not agree with us. If you do not agree, then please upvote thumbs up on our discussion, and put your note in the comments somewhere, or come tell us in Discord, and we'll chat about it.
Yeah.
But with
Right.
that, our EPC 367 droid is ready to jump on an airlock and dodge all of these blaster bolts coming from these squadrons, to broadcast this podcast to all of you out there. To follow us and find out when the next podcast is going to be, which will probably be every Thursday night, as it always has been, follow me on Twitter at Max the Gray. Also, keep up with us on our guild Discord, where Seema and I live our lives. You can find that
Right.
at aie-guild.org. You can jump in there. aie-guild.org on our guild website. Right in the upper right is the link to the guild Discord. We have guilds on Starforge on both the Republic and the Imperial side. We can get you a guild invite, although I saw we missed somebody earlier today. Hopefully we can get Brian in, get his alt in here pretty quick. And we will take care of you. That's why we do the podcast. We would love to have you. And with that, we will talk to you soon.
Later, everyone.